Let's try to understand what is the promise and in what scenario we will use the promise in JavaScript. So the promise, let's consider one scenario. Suppose in line number 1, you are calling the API, and after the API call you will get a data, and that data you want to consume or maybe use in the line number 2. Without getting a data you cannot do the operation in line number 2 because it depend upon the data. So in that scenario what you will do? So you may say that hey, since JavaScript is a synchronous programming language, so no need to do anything, just we need to wait, and once we will get a data then line number 2 will get executed. But it's not a very efficient way because this API call may take very long time. Okay, there may be a lots of other operation is going on in the back end, so it may take some times, some API may take some time, so it's not a very efficient way. The best way is that in the meantime, if since this API call will take some time, so in the meantime you can do certain other operation. So this is the very efficient way. So this is known as the asynchronous handling of event, because it is taking some time, so in the meantime you can do other operation. So with the help of the JavaScript, by default property is the synchronous, but if you want to use as a asynchronous, then you can use with the various method. Now here in this scenario you will use the promise to manage the asynchronous event. But you will say, wait, we have a callback as well. With the help of the callback we can achieve a asynchronous event. But why we will use here the promise? Because we already have a callback. So if you will use the callback, then there is one term in the callback known as the callback hell. Suppose line number 1 is getting a API, you are calling the API and after getting a response, you are utilizing that response in the line number 2, and line number 2 is also calling API and it will take some time. Okay, and this will take as a uh, input of the line number 1 response. Now you are calling a 2 API call. Okay, and uh, line number 2 and second API is depend upon the response of the first. So in this scenario, you have since you already have a lots of option into the JavaScript, but since you are using the promise, that's why I will uh, try to understand the promise. So in this situation we will use the promise, but we can use the callback as well, right? So the problem in the callback is, suppose we are writing one function, calling a function, let's say a, and okay, let's say add, and in that function you may call another function. So just I am writing another function, something like that, and within that function you can write any other function as well. So what will happen in this scenario? This will create a callback hell. Okay, so this will be known as a callback hell, something like this. So eventually it will be very lengthy and it will be very difficult to understand the code. So because many nested function or callback you are writing, so it's not a very good way to write, because again at the end it will be very difficult to understand with this type of nested callback, and very difficult to maintain the code. So in this scenario we cannot use the callback because eventually it will be end up with the callback hell. So that's why it's a good, we since we already have another option of the promise, so why not we are using the promise. So that's why we will use the promise to achieve a asynchronous event. However, we can use the callback as well, but uh, since we have a better option, so we will use the promise. for handling a asynchronous event. See, callback is also very important. If there is a suppose one or two nested callback, then it's fine. But sometimes what happen that it will end up with the callback hell. There will be lots of nested uh, uh, function you need to write within the uh, one function. Okay, one callback function. So in this scenario, we will use the promise. So what is the syntax of the promise? Let's try to understand. So promise is a very special type of object in JavaScript. Okay, so you need to generate a object. So I am writing let, and there is one variable which is, let's say, promise. So I am writing here the pro, something like that, and we need to create a object. So I will write here for creating a object we will use the new keyword, new, and then we have a promise, something like this. Okay, within this promise we have a two state. We can write a callback function and we have a two state. One is the resolve. It will have a two promise have a three state actually, but here we will use the two uh, parameter. One is a resolve and another one is a reject. What will happen? Promise either will get settled. If it will get settled, then either resolve will happen or reject will happen, or another state is the pending. So either it will get settled or it may be a pending. If it will get settled, it means we will have a resolve. Either it will get settled with the resolve or reject. Okay, it means if we will get a data, then it will be get resolved. Suppose we are calling API, and it may happen that we didn't get proper data what we need. Maybe network fail happened, or maybe any error happened, or maybe bad request, any type of request. So in that scenario, since another line is depend upon the what data we are getting, accordingly that line of code will work. So that's why we will use based on that. If it suppose API call will get resolved, then we will do the certain operation, and if it got rejected, then we will do the other operation. Okay, operation could be like, if you get a data, then you can display in the UI, or if you get error, then you need to display the error, something like that. Now this is the callback function I am using within the promise. Since we doesn't have right now, we doesn't have a API to make a API call. So for doing these things, to doing a mock thing, we will use a set timeout. Okay, so because as we know that API will also take some time, so since we can check it with the mock data or mock thing, so we will use here the set timeout. What this will do will be get executed after some times, whatever time I will specify. So set timeout will take two parameter. One is the callback. Okay, callback only work when the required time will get expired, whatever I am specifying as a second argument. Suppose I am providing the 10 second. Okay, if I will provide a 10 second, then after the 10 second set time, this callback will get executed after expiring of this 10 second. So here I can resolve. Okay, here I can resolve. I will write here that resolve, or anything resolve. Okay, but in both of the scenario, either it will get resolve or reject, you will do certain operation. So how you will do? If suppose that it will get resolved, then uh, how you will do the other operation? So you have to use the then method. If it will get fulfilled, then you have to use the then method. Okay, So I am going to write here this is the basically object. Within that object, with that object I am going to use the then method. Then, and within the then we have two things. One is the resolve or reject. So here we will use the resolve because reject is not available right now. So here we can use the suppose resolve. Okay, data, we will get a data because it's get resolved, so we can achieve a data. So right now we are not passing any data, so I can use here, or maybe we can write a data. We are passing the data which is the result, so I will use here the data and then something like this. Okay, if we will call by a console.log, then we will get the data. Suppose this is the data. Now let's see what will be the output. So I need to wait for 10 seconds. After the 10 seconds this resolve will get triggered. Okay, and if this will get triggered resolve, then with the then method we will get the data. So okay, so I need to start the server once again. Let's go to the console and wait for some times. After some times data may get appear. Yeah, I got a data after the expiring of the 10 second. This resolve is get triggered. Okay, if you will do a reject, then what will happen? Let's try to check it with the reject. Okay, and the reject, within that reject I can trigger one error, and I will write here maybe error from promise, something like that. Then you can notice that instantly I am getting this error, that error from promise. Okay, but why I am getting and why I am not getting the resolve? After the 10 seconds this will get resolved. So see, if you will do the multiple resolve or reject, then it doesn't make any sense. Okay, either you it can be a resolve or reject. If anyone will happen, anyone, suppose reject is happen, then resolve will be get ignored because it's get fulfilled, it gets settled. Sorry, it's not fulfilled, it gets settled, you can say. So full settled, it means that either with the resolve or reject. So anyone get triggered, either resolve or reject, it means you can, with the then method you can access it, right? It means you cannot do like this. Suppose if I will use here the resolve, something like this, here resolve, let's say resolve 2, then what will happen? If I will, you can notice that resolve 2 I got, and after a 10 second we will not get this resolve because resolve is already happened and settlement is happened. Since it is get settled, that's why we are getting the data in the then method. Then method get triggered once the this promise will get settled, either with the resolve or reject. So in this way you can consume, with using the then method you can consume the resolve or reject event. Okay, if it will get resolve settled with the resolve, then resolve you can handle, otherwise reject you can handle. So for this I can write something like this. Here I have to write here the error err, let's say, and here it should be err, and I need to comment these things. And once it will get saved, you will get the output. So you will get the error because this error get triggered and this error is calling. Okay, so I can do it like this, err, something like this, and you will get the result. So you can notice you are getting from the err, not from the data. If it will get resolved, then it will get with you will get this from this console log with the data. I hope you understand. If you will face any problem, then please comment. Thank you. So we will do lots of other thing with the promise in the next video.